Hello and welcome. I hope you can hear me, although I don't know how to check. All right, great. It's good. When I see messages here in the chat, I know that at least you can hear me a little bit. All right, good. So good afternoon. I'm Gabriel. Today we're going to be talking about authentic materials in the classroom. And thinking about this situation that we are all living, one of the things that we are going to discuss is authentic materials in online classrooms as well. Hi from Minas Gerais, all right. Good. It's good to know that there are people coming from everywhere. All right, cool. Curitiba too. If you can type where you're coming from. The sound is great, good. I was a little bit afraid, João. Thank you for the feedback. BH, Curitiba, all right. Jundiaí too, Santos, Santo André. Porto Alegre, all right. São José do Rio Preto, beautiful city, love it. São José dos Campos, Araraquara, São Paulo, Floripa, Salvador. Wow, all right. All over Brazil. Okay, Palhaça too. Good. So I was going to start with thank you for being here in this cold afternoon, but I don't know what the weather is like where you're talking from, Uruguay as well, all right. So we're going to discuss authentic materials here. And we're going to talk about how they can be used. I'm thinking specifically about receptive skills here. So how they can be used for this kind of activities, for text and for videos and audios. But I would also like to have some input from you. So if you have any questions while I'm talking, if there's anything you'd like to ask specifically, send me a question and we'll try to talk about it. I'll set aside some time at the end for the questions that you might have. All right? Good. So to start with, I think that the first thing that we need to have in mind is what are we talking about when we say that something is authentic, right? If we're talking about authenticity, there are many different definitions. Okay, reality can be one too if you're using objects in class, right? In this case, we're thinking about texts and examples in a specific setting. So I got here two definitions from a couple of guys who are not that famous, right? So let me see if you can see it. Okay, there we go. So one from Tomlinson and one from Harmer. There are many different definitions. I got these two because they are very close there. Okay, from Pará as well. All right. Hello, Luciane. A text not written or spoken for language teaching purposes and materials which are designed for native speakers. So not for language students, but speakers of the language. Both of these definitions, they help us see those authentic materials as examples of the language that were not created for the purpose of being examples. So if we are talking about a text that you find in a textbook that was adapted so it's better for basic students or intermediate students, then it's not authentic according to these two definitions. A text that is, in order for it to be authentic, it was designed for another reason, that is mainly to communicate an idea, maybe to entertain. So if I am watching, if I get an episode from a sitcom to use as an example in class, then I can consider that this is authentic material. If I am using a book that is unabridged, it's authentic material as well. So I like to give this definition when I'm talking to my students, for example. They are texts, so it's important that we're considering texts as written and oral. So we're talking about texts that they're considered linguistically, so they are production, either orally or written. And they were not created for this purpose. They were not created to teach English. They were created for something else. So when we use them in class, we are using them as they are. There's some disputes. Some authors, they would consider that in order for it to be completely authentic, you wouldn't be able to cut. So, for example, if I am using an article from a newspaper in class. According to some authors, it would not be authentic if I am just using an excerpt of the text. This is a little bit extreme. Most authors, they would agree that as long as the text is not changed in terms of the language, in terms of the structures, the vocabulary, then we can consider that text to be authentic. So when we are talking about video or audio, we get the excerpt as it is, so this would be considered an authentic material. I don't know about your experience, but when I was learning English, most of the examples of authentic materials I got up until advanced were excerpts from TV series. So usually Friends, which I don't know about you, but I think most teachers enjoy Friends, and some teachers hate Friends with all their guts. So it's kind of a polarizing situation. But I saw a lot of those episodes even before I watched the series, right? Yes, newspapers and magazines too, but when I was a learner, most of what I had were video examples. I didn't have much in terms of texts in class, I mean. And then I would go for those texts in my free time as, homework, etc. But on the other hand, non-authentic materials there were plenty of them. This is something, I don't know if all of you who are listening to me are English teachers, work with English as a second language. If you work with Portuguese as a second language, for example, which I do sometimes, this is something that you end up using a lot more than in English, I guess. In English, we have a lot of abridged materials. We have a lot of texts that are adapted for basic students, for intermediate students. Sometimes it's all done, right? And the textbooks are there's a wide variety of textbooks, so you can use a lot of non-authentic materials. When you're teaching Portuguese as a second language, then you need you probably use a lot more of authentic materials. I used a lot of Porta dos Fundos, for example. Yeah. So it is an authentic material because, Porta dos Fundos was not made for people who are learning Portuguese, right? It was made for people who can watch something in Portuguese. So if I'm going to use it in class, I need to make a lot of adaptations, right? So these are the authentic materials that we're going to be talking about. The ones that were created not having a student of the language in mind, right? I think a good question would be, why would we use them, right? So if we have a lot of materials that were already prepared, we can use a lot of textbooks for English. We can use, yes, Vanina's already spoiled one of those. It's real language, yeah. But when we're talking about English as a second language or a foreign language, we are talking about a language that has a lot of resources, right? If you look at Disal's catalog, for example, you see a lot of textbooks that are going to get your students there. You can teach your entire life without ever using an authentic material, right? But I would argue that we have a lot of reasons to use authentic materials, a lot of reasons why we would want to create a little bit more there. First of all, we're talking about something that is meaningful. We're talking about content that is relevant because of, in itself, actually. When we're talking about, imagine we're talking about, we're teaching intermediate students, and we are talking about natural disasters, right? In the natural disasters unit, we're probably going to discuss landslides, we're going to talk about tsunamis, we're going to talk about forest fires, for example. If I am teaching my students about forest fires, for example, and I can present them with a text about Pantanal, for example, which is burning now, or the California wildfires, right? These content is going to be a lot more meaningful to them because it's discussing something that has actual relevance in terms of a real conversation, right? This is something that you might discuss in like what do you call a water cooler conversation, right? Did you see about the Californian wildfire? Yeah, I know, bad, right? So this is something that adds another layer to what we are teaching. If I can give them a text that is going to discuss a real occurrence or something that they can actually have an opinion about, rather than something that, it's generic. They are learning, they are reading that just for the sake of vocabulary, just for the sake of improving reading skills, then it's going to be an extra, a bonus there, right? And it also is going to mean that students are going to be a little bit more engaged, right? So we have motivation there. This real communication here, not only because it's something that is meaningful, because it's something that they might care about, but because it's something that they would actually read in real life, so to speak, right? In that sense, if I'm discussing the wildfires, for example, I might read an article in The Guardian or something about the wildfires to get more information, to know how bad it is, maybe to find out how we can contribute. If I am reading a text about landslides in general, this is not something I might read. I don't usually go to Wikipedia and Google, landslides, and let's see what they have to say about that, right? So this is real communication. They're actually watching or reading or listening to something because they want to find out that information. They want to obtain that information there. Think about a dialogue, for example, which is a classic. It's a staple in English classrooms, right? You have a dialogue between two people, and you have to figure something out to get some information, etc. How often are you going to eavesdrop? How often are you going to listen to somebody else's conversation? There are situations in which we might do that, but if I give my students, if I give them a radio show, and they have to identify what the new procedures that are being taken, the new rules about something, then this is more likely to be meaningful to them, right? A third advantage here is, and I don't think we can we can't overstate how important this is, the cultural aspects of what they are listening to. I don't know. I usually get more reactions when I comment about Friends. I think only one person here said something about it, but usually, I don't know. In my experience, a lot of people have already seen the entire series more than once, right? And if you, depending on what kind of, depending on the kind of sitcoms you like, maybe you have already seen How I Met Your Mother. Maybe you have already seen Frasier or stuff like that. All right, Cynthia loves Friends. Thank you. I'm not alone there. I can quote a lot of episodes by heart, right? And one of the things that I found the most interesting is I have never actually read about Thanksgiving in the United States. I have never lived in the US, right? I have never experienced that, and I have never read a book or an article, anything about Thanksgiving. However, I'm pretty sure I can explain to somebody who asks most of the cultural aspects of Thanksgiving for Americans and how important it is. I know it is important because it happens every season. There's a Thanksgiving episode, right? And they have exactly. You need to learn about the culture, Thiago. You're absolutely right. And these kind of materials, they give us this insight about culture. They tell us a lot of and especially a lot of the things that maybe Americans wouldn't explain if you ask them about it. So, for example, about the Thanksgiving thing, maybe they would explain to you that, okay, so we have a big meal, and the most important thing is the turkey, and we eat a lot, and we watch the football game that is on during Thanksgiving, and there is Black Friday afterwards. but maybe they wouldn't tell you about the Thanksgiving parade that happens, right? Maybe I know about it because of the Balloon One Friends episode. Maybe they wouldn't tell you about the fact that the person who carves a turkey, it's important to know who carves the turkey, right? Like you can see in How I Met Your Mother. So this cultural information, especially the things that are implicit, is very valuable. And we might not get this from texts that were designed just to teach the language. This is an extra. This is something that you can obtain. And when you watch, when you read something like that, then you can see a lot of the things that they take for granted too, right? There's also, yes, Modern Family, of course, and how could I forget? Modern Family is one of my favorites. And you see a lot of things that you can use with students. I have actually only watched Modern Family very recently, so I haven't been able to use it with students. But there are many episodes there that look very fun to do that with. And listening here this is about real situations, right? Not only listening but reading. Here we are talking about this real communication, and it's going to get your students more motivated by seeing that, look, I'm watching something that nobody had to adapt for me, right? This is meaningful. An example that I like to give, and sorry if you heard it before, I studied Turkish, right? Which is a language I love, but I started learning, for a lot of reasons, not necessarily to watch things in Turkish, even though the soap operas are awesome, right? But something that makes me beam with joy is sometimes I'm watching goal compilations online on YouTube or something, and I don't know if it's because of the copyrights in Turkey or something, but there are a lot of videos, illegal videos maybe, in which the everything is in Turkish. The narrators are describing the game in Turkish and everything. I don't get a lot of what they're saying, but when I hear something like that, that I get, I'm like, okay, now he's saying that he dribbled or something like that. I'm very happy, right? I feel like, yes, okay, this is why I'm learning Turkish. It's not, but it gives me this positive feedback. Our students, they will probably respond to that. How many of your students haven't told you something like that? I was watching TV the other day and I recognized something that we learned in class. Or I understood something without looking at the subtitle because of the class that we had about future tenses, for example. When you're dealing with authentic materials, you can improve the chances that students are going to feel this, they're going to have this aha moment, right? Like, I got this one, right? So it's really, it helps a lot, especially, I would say, when we're talking about students who are still in the beginning, elementary students, basic students, because when we have students who are, advanced students, they expect to be able to do this. When we are talking about A1 students, when they get these moments in which they understand a video without resorting to translation, for example, then you are going to get, then your students are likely to be more motivated throughout the course, right? Of course, if we're talking about the good things about authentic materials, we have to discuss some things that are difficult. Authentic materials present challenges that are a little bit particular, some challenges that we need to have in mind. And full disclosure, I haven't always been so much in favor of authentic materials, because I'm a very lazy teacher, right? But usually because you have to prepare maybe 20 classes a week, right? It's much easier to get something that you know is appropriate, something that you already know it's the best for that group, because you have already used it before or because other teachers have, right? The challenges with authentic material, in my opinion, are what can we use? So not only because of language here, but also because of copyright, right? Especially now that we are having online classes and you are streaming or recording sometimes your lessons, and you want to use videos and you don't know if you are allowed to use it, if it's fair use or not. I don't know how many of you have already tried to use copies of books or whatnot, and somebody told you what? People told me that many times. Oh no, you can't use this because you're using more than I don't know how much percent of the book, so it's not allowed. We have a wide variety of options on YouTube, for example, but is it okay to use it in online classes? Is it not? So we need to have this in mind. But we are also talking about content in the sense of is this going to be appropriate for my students based on their age, based on their beliefs, actually, based on what they are able to do, right? TED Talks that are a good call, you can use them. Sometimes I think that this is one of the best uses that you can have of TED Talks. Some of my students were at a certain point a little bit tired of them, but absolutely, it's one that you can use. But then you have to worry about how appropriate this material is. So is the language going to be accessible to our students? When we're talking about authentic materials, we can't be sure unless we really analyze it. And this is very time consuming, right? We need to watch the video once and make sure that it's decently appropriate in terms of language, in terms of speed of delivery, in terms of how well they're going to understand it. Then you watch it again to make sure that there are no structures that are going to create more problems than solve for you, you know? You know that your students are going to be very curious about this use of past perfect here, and you don't want to go there yet, right? So you need to be careful. And also, how are we going to link this to the course? If I am teaching my students about phrasal verbs, for example, or if I'm teaching, phrasal verbs are a little bit easier in that sense, but if I'm teaching them about telling stories in the past, sometimes I need to watch a lot of videos or read a lot of texts in order to make sure that it's connected to my course, right? Depending on where you teach, if you do not design your own course, sometimes you have a very strict schedule to follow, right? So you need that authentic video or that authentic text to be flexible, so you can add it at any moment there without taking too much out of your planning, right? I think that this is a little bit harder with authentic materials because of the advantages that we were discussing, because it's something that is more meaningful, because it's something that they will want to listen to. Chances are that the discussions are going to be longer, that they are going to require more time. You need to prepare for more in a wider variety of questions, right? Something that you might be a little bit more comfortable with when you have something a little bit more calculated, right? Yes, Hosanna said here that most of our students love TV series, but not TED Talks. Again, that's one thing, right? Do students watch TED Talks by themselves? Is this something? I know that I'm a little bit. I see this with my students, especially my younger students, that they love watching videos. They watch videos of people unboxing things on YouTube, right? And I don't have the attention span to do that, right? I can't watch a video of a person talking for 1 hour. It's impossible for me. So if somebody were to use TED Talks with me, for example, maybe I would find the content relevant, but maybe it's not listening in a real situation. This is not something that I would feel interested in watching, for example. Conversely, there are students who might love watching lectures, watching people explain things, or you can work a lot with the showmanship there, right? The people who are in TED Talks, they have a lot of skills in terms of how they present their point, how they engage the audience. So there's a lot of extra information there to be had. But a difficulty here would be, how can we make sure that all of our students are interested in that? It's difficult to make something that is meaningful and interesting to all of our students if we have a group, right? So authentic materials, they create, maybe they raise the bar a little bit. We expect these to be engaging for more students, We want them to be, more, to generate this discussion, for example. So it can backfire as well if we don't know our students reasonably well, right? Do these difficulties mean that we should not use authentic materials? If it's a private class, exactly, Rodrigo. If we have a one-to-one class, then we can use authentic materials to the most here, right? We hopefully have a little bit more preparation time, right? We are already personalizing our classes to our students if we have only one. And we ideally know what this one student likes, what they are interested in. So, for example, if we have, if we're preparing someone for a more business environment, then we know that what kind of texts are going to be more meaningful, right? If we have a larger group, then we will probably try to converge into the common denominator there, right? What do most people here like? Then we go with that, right? I had a group once that there were 11 preteens there. 10 of them, well, 9 of them really liked SpongeBob. One was never there, and one of them hated SpongeBob. Like, he couldn't actually. When SpongeBob started laughing, he wanted to scream. So I didn't want a screaming student there, so I just couldn't use SpongeBob there. But we'll try to find something that most people are okay with. If they don't love it, well, okay. But we can't please them all the time. Exactly, Denise. We can't. But we try. Even if we have only one, it's a little bit easier to do it, right? I think that the linking of activities to the course here is one of the hardest things with authentic materials. And one of the main reasons why we would want to mix authentic and non-authentic materials. Because if I have a text, if I want my students to focus on a specific structure, and I can use a text that deals only with that structure or mostly with that structure, then there are going to be a lot of advantages of using it. Then, after they are comfortable with it, I want to give them something that is a little bit more interesting, something that maybe they are going to actually want to read a little bit more. I'm working with reading for pleasure, for example. Then I can use authentic materials as kind of a next step there. So my point is not that we should use authentic materials all the time, but rather that we should try and use them because there are many advantages in using them, right? Yes, Thiago, exactly. We usually, I've worked most of my life with schools that had very, they followed a course book, usually in-house course books. So they expected you not to deviate too much from those, from that schedule, right? Usually you have extra classes, flex classes, stuff like that, where you might want to use authentic materials a little bit more. So I think that this is one difficulty here. Sometimes you need to go through many layers of bureaucracy in order to be able to use this in class. But I think that is worth the trouble. And I think that when we are coordinating courses, we should try and encourage teachers to come up with some of these ideas, and then we can check and see if they are working or not, right? When we're using authentic materials, we need to consider who we're going to use them with. I don't know if this is part assumption, part anecdotal evidence, so it's not exactly scientific, but in my experience, we tend to use authentic materials more and more comfortably when we are dealing with advanced students. I think that one of the reasons is there are fewer materials for advanced students than compared to basic ones. There are fewer advanced students, so when you work with groups, we can dedicate more time to individual students, because instead of having 15, we have 5. But also because it is easier to use authentic materials if you do not. Oh, thanks, Marcel. I'm not alone there. It's easier to use authentic materials if you do not have to worry that much about the language itself. So they're not only the language itself, but students need to be taught how to learn, right? When you're learning another language, I think that most people are not going to start being, they're not going to start being aware that they need to overlook the words that they don't know, try to get them from the context. This is something that we teach, right? I think that one of the key things that we can do when we're dealing with receptive skills, with listening and reading, is teach our students how to not to worry too much about individual words, individual structures that they don't understand. And we teach them to get the gist of the conversation, gist of the text, and we teach them how to focus on specific information every now and then. When we're dealing with advanced students, usually the students who stick with us to advanced levels are the ones who have already learned this way of learning, right? They are already a little bit more comfortable with the idea of not getting all the information from the text. Sometimes they are a little bit more okay with, okay, if I need to use to put subtitles here in this video, it's all right. It's just for this one, etc. So this is one of the reasons why I think it's easier in general to use authentic materials with advanced students. However, if we want to use authentic materials with basic students, I think that the benefits, the ones that we were discussing just now, they are even more meaningful. They're even more effective, right? Who needs more motivation to continue learning the language than a student who is still in the beginning? Usually, if you have already, well, I don't know, most schools would probably have this kind of profile. It's kind of like a pyramid, right? Most of their students are going to be basic, intermediate students, and then when you get to advanced, you have fewer and fewer students. We need to keep those students, we need to make sure that they continue their learning process. Not only because we want to continue to have students, but because we know that if they do not continue learning, they're not getting the most out of those classes that we are teaching, right? So we need to motivate them. We need them to see the results of their progress. So being able to understand a text or being able to watch a video and getting most of what is going on there is really going to be a boost in their confidence, is going to lower their affective filter probably. It's going to help them worry less about the understanding of every single word in the sentence or in the video, right? So with basic students, what we need to have in mind is how am I going to change this activity? If I'm using authentic material, I'm not going to change the audio. That's what we usually do. And then we end up with dialogues in some texts. There are, oh, are you going to the mall today? No, I am not. And then students can see that it's just for the purpose of practicing. We cannot change that, right? What we can change is the task that we're going to present to our students. So if I am giving the same Friends episode to an intermediate student and to, a B1 student, intermediate, and an A2 student, so elementary. Even if it's the same video, the same 5 minutes of video there, I can ask my students to notice different things. So instead of asking them to notice how is Monica going to negotiate the wedding dress with the clerk, for example. I just want them to find out why the two women are fighting there, right? What is the reason for the fight? So if I keep my task a little bit simpler, I can potentially reach a wider variety of students, right? We have to adapt, exactly, Thiago. So because we're not adapting the text, we're not adapting the audio, we're not adapting the reading, we're going to adapt what we ask of our students, what we need them to do with it, right? Perfect, Maria Inês. The level of the students is what is going to determine the task. So even if I use the same video 3 times with A1, B1, and C1, the things I'm going to ask them to do with it are going to be widely different, right? Especially because we are teaching them how they can get information out of a text, even if they don't get all the layers of information in the text, right? This is something that we do, even if we are fluent in the language, right? If I'm looking at the first page of a newspaper, the most important skill for me there is just to get the gist of what's going on there. I just need to know if this article is worth turning to page 4 for, or if not, right? So we have different needs depending on the different texts. And so we need to, like João Pedro is saying, we need to adapt the task rather than the text, right? Usually, something that we usually try to do there is, if I'm going to work a lot with the other clues rather than just the linguistic information, right? So for example, if we're working with kids are usually in a difficult position there for authentic materials, because we tend to go a little bit more slowly when we are teaching kids in terms of the course book, even though kids maybe learn faster, right? But if you look at only in terms of content, the structures and the vocabulary, you'll see that what we teach to adults in maybe a year is sometimes 2.5 years of a teenage course, right? Or a kid's course. So when we are dealing with videos and texts, we are in a difficult position because if you try to watch SpongeBob, for example, without subtitles or directly in English, it might be a little bit harder than it would be in your mind, right? I had a hard time when I had one that was, what was it called? Harvey Beaks. It's a Nickelodeon cartoon. And my kid is 2, and I wanted him to watch the cartoon. And then it was, there were two options in Portuguese and in English, right? But without subtitles. I put it in English just to try it, and there were a lot of things that I couldn't catch, right? And they were not speaking too fast. It's just that they were talking to a specific audience there, right? So if I'm going to use that video to teach 7-year-olds about telling stories in the past, I'm going to need them to pay attention to specific things about the video. So I'm going to ask them, okay, what is the problem that the characters are facing? So I'm going to keep it as broad as possible, right? So to answer the question that I myself posed, who should use authentic materials? I think we can use them with all kinds of students, but I think that well, in my opinion, I think that we use a little bit less than we could with more basic students. I think that we would have great benefits if we were to use them a little bit more with A1, A2 students, especially because we're going to teach them early on that they're able to do that, right? So we need to. It's a good use of our time to teach them. Look, you need to pay attention to the whole of the video if we're using a video, or the whole of the text. There's a lot of information that you have, even if you don't understand a single word there, right? Yes, so if you're using ads, for example, they give a lot of a combination of visual and written information, right? I think that this is a good one. I myself, I used to enjoy a lot older videos, older movies, because of they used to have that mid-Atlantic accent, right, which was made up only for movies, right, and kind of like a neutral accent, which doesn't exist, but the way that they pronounced certain words was a lot clearer. The use of slang was a lot less prevalent than we have nowadays. So it's something that can give an introduction to that, right? I think it's all about scaffolding. It's all about how much we are going to use at a certain point and how we are going to teach our students how to learn, right? If I'm just giving them the videos without preparation, without teaching them how to use them, chances are that we are going to lose them at a certain point there. If we can, the pink pen or my fair lady, absolutely. If we can teach them progressively how to deal with that, we can make sure that they are getting the most out of those materials, right? Something that I don't know about you if you have been teaching online, if you also had yes, no, I'll get there. Preparation is the key here. But if you're teaching online, or if you had a period of time in which you didn't teach because of the pandemic and everything, I think that the way we are dealing with online classes, this is a moment in which we can get the most out of those authentic materials. And I'm thinking here specifically about videos, but this works for texts as well. When we're working with receptive skills in general, we tend to try to divide things into the before you read or watch, while you are reading and watching, and after you're reading and watching. The way that our classes are, we need to adapt them nowadays. This makes it a little bit easier for us to have more activities outside of the classroom time. So a lot of people are doing synchronous classes. So everything is that 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week. But a lot of schools are also working with activities to do outside of the classes hours, right? This is an opportunity for authentic materials because we can provide students with more time to activate their schemata. So if I'm going to work with a video about the forest fires, for example, I can give them a task that involves reflecting about natural disasters. They're probably going to have to Google a lot of things about natural disasters. Maybe they are going to watch a few videos as well. When I show them the video, they are going to have been a lot more immersed into the content than if I just gave them 10 minutes before the video was played. And the things that we can do afterwards with the contents there, we can help students make connections between the video that they watched about the fires in Pantanal, for example, and other forest fires, for example. You can have them research how the forest fires have increased because of global warming or because of whatever is their hypothesis, so we can really make the most out of it, right? I think that a key aspect here is teaching them how to worry about global comprehension rather than specific comprehension is more important online, because if we're showing them a video, they can experience a variety of difficulties, technical difficulties, I mean. They can have trouble connecting, they can have trouble with the audio. So there's a variety of things there. And sometimes students are just going to stop watching because they couldn't understand a certain word, right? I think that this is a situation in which we have to try to divide our task a little bit more, so having these asynchronous moments. And then we can collect a lot more feedback from students. We can get, in terms of identifying what exactly they find meaningful and relevant, and finding out what exactly they want to find out more about, right? Elena said here that not preparing is a disaster. And I think that this is what I would put here as the hardest thing about authentic materials. It's harder because the more you're trying to be relevant, the more likely you are to find out that some things that you thought were, everybody would agree with them, you find out that they are points of controversy, right? Preparation here is extremely delicate, right? You need to, you are trying to think about all the possible reactions, all the things that might raise the red flag there in our students' minds. Well, what exactly is going to stop their comprehension there? What are the keywords that I need to pre-teach, right? In order for them to get the most out of this video or this reading. Exactly, Hosanna, that we are boosting students' confidence, absolutely. Feedback here is extremely important, you're right. Not only our feedback to students, but our students' feedback to us. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes we get classes that we only have shy students, right? People who they do everything you ask them to do, but they never look too enthusiastic about anything, right? And then you're like, are they enjoying this or not, right? And if I'm using authentic material and this material is not being enjoyed, I'm not saying it's meaningless, but it's a lot less meaningful. Maybe if it's all the same, they just use the non-authentic material, right? We want things that are going to make our students more engaged. We want things that they are going to watch and they're going to be like, wow, that class was a great class because I watched something, I understood something that I wanted to know, That's why I'm learning English. I'm learning English to watch Friends without subtitles when it's on Warner Channel, right? We need to have a pedagogical purpose for everything, absolutely. This is something that I made this mistake many times in the past. Giving students a video for the sake of giving them a video. We're watching a movie because we're watching a movie. And I mean, I'm not saying that they're not getting anything out of it, but they are getting a lot less than they could be, right? So for example, in some schools or in a lot of environments, we might have the reward of movie and popcorn, right? So we use this as a kind of external motivation. I'm not condoning or condemning the practice. I'm just saying that it happens a lot, right? If I'm giving them a movie to watch while they're eating popcorn, which students seem to love, I can just give them the movie, and maybe I can have a discussion afterwards or before it, and that is going to have some relevance to my class, right? This is a use of authentic material that is a little bit more subtle, right? I'm using something that, okay, let's watch something, let's have fun, but then, I have an agenda, I'm a teacher, so we're going to discuss how how Nemo's father, I forgot his name, but how Nemo's father is mirroring the hero's journey, something like that, right? But absolutely, self-assessment here. I think that students need, when they get to, when they have these authentic materials there, they are able to really gauge how much they have learned, right? When we are talking about students who have been learning longer, who are, they cannot really tick a checklist, right, of all all the things that they've learned. When you are teaching basic students, you can just like, okay, in this book we learned simple past, simple present, pa-da-da, pa-da-da, pa-da-da. When you get to upper intermediate, sometimes it's harder to present concrete evidence of their learning, right? So this is something that works beautifully with if we, in the beginning of the year, of the semester, you give them something to watch or to read, and you see that this is a little bit too hard for them, and they will notice that too. And then when you get to the middle of the semester, the end of the year, and you give them another opportunity to work with authentic materials, you can see that they can see that, look, I couldn't do this, now I can. I had difficulty reading an article, now it's a little bit easier, right? So this kind of evidence is what can really make sometimes the entire book, the entire course year be more meaningful to them, right? And again, not only because this is good marketing for us, because it shows our students, hey, look at all the things I learned with that teacher, but also because it allows them to continue seeing the need of improvement. They can see what they did, and so they will be curious, like, okay, if I progressed this much, what am I going to do now, right? And there's always more things for them to do. Sometimes when you have a student who this sense of achievement, exactly, Maria Inês, exactly. I think that a good one is when you're working with TV series that involve a lot of, for example, Breaking Bad, or things that are genuinely interesting, good television, and then sometimes it's a little bit too hard, right, for students. And then you see, like, look, but this is where we're getting at. That's our goal there, right? We're going to get to this, to the point where you can watch Breaking Bad new season, even though you don't have the subtitles, right? Perfect, Igor. Good. You show them what they've learned. Thank you, Lisandro. Thank you. You show them what they've learned. When they notice this by themselves, and teaching them how to notice this by themselves also gives you a lot of benefits, right? And authentic materials are a situation in which the mere fact that you're using them can show to your students that they are improving a lot. Yeah. I think that the role of motivation, self-motivation here, is something that we really need to take into account. I think that if I had to choose just one reason why we would use authentic materials, I would go with the motivation. I think that the fact that students are going to really get the most out of the classes there. Okay, good. I have tried to address some of the comments you have made so far. I think I'm up to speed. If I haven't answered a question, please send it to me. Let me just invite you here. Let me see. Okay, let me invite you here to join us at Troika. We have a lot of courses going on online. Exactly, Noeli. They like things in real life situations. Absolutely. I was going to say about the online thing. The thing that I like the most about having these online interactions is we can get people from all over Brazil, all over the world, really, and this only adds to the discussion, right? Stefania, a task for A2 students using authentic materials and a good experience. Okay, I think I can combine both of these, actually. Here I'm thinking about A2. This was a teenage group. I was using it was a SpongeBob video. Again, SpongeBob, right? I like SpongeBob a lot. It was a SpongeBob video in which Patrick, the star, he was going to the dentist, and he was very scared of going to the dentist. My A2 students, they were able, they had already learned, I think that we were teaching present perfect at the moment. And then I started discussing, okay, well, what do you feel when you go to the dentist? And then we were talking about, feelings, scared, afraid, etc. The point of the video was, okay, so watch this video and tell me the reason why Patrick is scared, right? And a lot of the information they were able to get, even if I didn't have any audio there, right? They were just getting it from the way Patrick was moving and etc. What I did afterwards was, okay, so let's work with some keywords here. And because they had already watched, they were able to identify some of the vocabulary. And then we were, because they were teens, we worked with, how can I tell a friend not to be afraid of going to the dentist, share an experience you had, or something like that. I think that when we are talking about A2 students specifically, more than A1 students, what I try to do is potentialize how much they can do with the language that they have. When we're talking about A1 students, I'm usually trying to focus on how comfortable students are going to feel here, how in the advantages that the video is going to give me in terms of showing them that they can do it, even if I don't help them, right? When I'm talking about A2 students, I want them to notice how the language that we are working with can help them understand some nuances there. So if he says, for example, I've been waiting here for an hour, I want my students to notice that and to realize that I'm not teaching new structures just because I like teaching them, but because it changes how you're going to understand the information. All right. All right. Thank you for the comments. All right. Good. If you have any questions, if you want to make any comments, get in touch via Instagram. You can get there my email there as well. Thank you very much. And thanks, Disal, for the opportunity. It was great. I hope you feel a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more at ease with using authentic materials. Try and put them into practice. All right. Thanks a lot. I'll see you around.